Did you know that God's book, the Bible, is just full of surprises? Even though every word is true, God does amazing things all through the Bible in the most surprising ways. This story tells about one of God's special surprises. God's people had been in a country called Egypt for many, many years. If you can count to 400, then you will know how long they had been there. At first, they were treated very well. They were given places to live, and there was plenty of time for the children to play. God blessed these people called Israelites. More and more of them were born, until there were about 2 million of them. That is a huge number of men, women, and children. God's people were busy working, playing, and taking care of their land and their families. But as the years went by, things changed, and not in a good way. The king of Egypt was called Pharaoh. At the time of this story, a new Pharaoh came to the throne of Egypt. He looked at God's people and he was not happy.
These Israelites are becoming dangerous to us because there are so many of them. Soon they will be stronger than we are. But if we make them slaves, we will wear them out. We will always rule, and they will never be able to join our enemies to make war against us, or be able to escape.
Oh no! What a terrible plan! Would the Pharaoh really make slaves out of God's chosen people? Yes, that's exactly what the Pharaoh did. Life changed so much. Instead of being free to live and work and play, the Israelites were now forced to be slaves. Do you know what it meant to be a slave in Egypt at that time?
I am a slave. My master owns me, and I must work for him for no pay.
Most of us are forced to work in the mud pits from morning to night, under the burning sun. We chop straw dried in the sun to mix with mud to make bricks. We must make a required number of mud bricks or suffer. It's too many for any man to make.
The slave drivers are always watching. They carry whips. They use them often. They want us to work faster and harder every hour of every day.
Our masters use us to build cities. We are the ones who build the houses, the walls, the temples, the palaces, and the huge monuments. We have to do everything. We carry loads of mud bricks that are back-breaking. I have fallen under the heavy loads, so has almost everyone. The slave driver beats us until we stand and keep moving.
Everything has to be done by hand. Carrying water in heavy jugs from the river to the home of my mistress is heavy work. My hands are raw and blistered from working in the fields.
Children have to work all day, too. We almost never have time to play. But my mommy and daddy are tired and their bodies hurt. It's a hard life. I wish I could make things better.
Life for the Israelite men, women, and children was bad, but it became even worse, if you can imagine. The Pharaoh found out that the number of Israelites was still growing in spite of the slavery. He thought of a more terrible plan.
There are too many Israelites. This must be stopped. From now on, all Israelite baby boys must be killed as soon as they are born. The girls can live.
He ordered the women who helped deliver the babies to kill the Israelite boys. But they believed in God and did not obey the order. So the number of Israelites kept on growing. Now the Pharaoh was really angry and issued the worst command of all.
As soon as any baby boy is born, everyone is responsible to see that the baby boy is thrown into the Nile River to drown. But the girls may live.
But why was this happening? God had made a promise to his people. God said they would leave Egypt and go to the Promised Land, a very special place he had planned for them. But so many years had gone by, 400 years. Had God forgotten his promise? No way! God always says what he means, and God means what he says. God cannot tell a lie, but God is very, very patient. Just at this dreadful time of trouble, God brought a special surprise to his people. An adorable baby boy was born into a family that loved God. There was a mother, a father, a sister who was about 15 years old, and a little brother. Oh no, not a boy. If it had been a baby girl, there would have been no problem. The girls were allowed to live. But God gave them a baby boy. The family believed that God gave them a baby boy to live, not to die. So they hid the baby at home for 1 month, and then another, and then another. But after 3 months, the baby was getting bigger, and his cries were becoming louder, and he could no longer be safely hidden. What should they do? They thought and prayed and came up with a plan, God's plan.
Miriam, God gave me an idea. Quickly, help me gather up these papyrus reeds out of the swamp.
Yes, Mother. But what are we going to do with these?
We will weave these reeds together to help save your baby brother.
But how will reeds help my brother?
If the Egyptian river boats can be made with these reeds and tar, we can make a little basket boat for your brother, so he can float away from those trying to kill him. He'll have a better chance to survive by getting away from you.
No, Mother, no.
Please, Miriam, we must have faith. God will protect him. It's the only way. Hurry!
Yes, Mother.
The mother hugged and kissed her beloved baby boy over and over and talked to him.
I love you. We all love you. God loves you best of all. God gave you to us. God gave us this idea. I don't know what will happen, but God does. I will trust God to take care of you and to keep you from destruction, my precious child.
Then the mother did the bravest thing possible. She took her baby boy, gave him one last hug and kiss, closed the lid over his sweet face, gently placed him in the tiny basket boat, and tenderly pushed the basket boat into the Nile River. She then whispered to her daughter,
Follow the basket, Miriam. Watch carefully from a distance. I must know what happens to my baby boy.
Miriam happily obeyed. Crouching in the bulrushes growing along the Nile River, she followed the journey of the basket at a safe distance, but never stopped watching. Miriam heard sounds of women coming to the river. The women were laughing and talking. Her eyes opened even wider. They were Egyptian women, and the princess, the Pharaoh's own daughter, was with them. Would they see the basket? Miriam held her breath. The princess saw the basket and giggled with excitement.
Oh, look! What is that floating by the edge of the river? Fetch it. Please bring it to me.
The basket was brought up to the princess. Miriam's heart pounded in her chest so fast she thought it would burst as the princess peeked inside the basket. As she raised the lid, the baby cried. The princess's heart was touched. She picked up the baby and smiled and held him close to her. She began to rock him, saying,
Oh, he must be one of the Israelite children. I will name him Moses. because I drew him out of the water.
The baby's sister Miriam could no longer stay hidden. Without any fear or hesitation, she went to the princess and said,
Princess, would you like me to find an Israelite woman to help nurse the baby for you?
The most unbelievable thing happened. The princess said yes. Miriam raced home to get her mother to nurse the baby.
Mother! Mother, please! Please come quick! The princess wants to see you!
They both rushed back to the princess. The princess gave the order.
Take this child, Moses, to your home and nurse him for me. I will pay you well.
And that's exactly what happened. The life of the baby boy Moses was spared in the most surprising way imaginable. God is full of surprises. The way God protected Moses from harm was a special surprise. God had big plans for Moses and many surprises ahead for God's people. God eventually uses Moses to rescue the Israelites from slavery and to lead them to the Promised Land. God kept his promise. God never changes. God is still able to give special surprises in the midst of the worst possible situations. He did that for Moses, for his family, and for the Israelites. God is able to do that for you also, in his way, in his time.